Experience is the best teacher, but the tuition is high. That's why I started the Global CISO Podcast for defenders by defenders, as I traveled around 300,000 miles last year working with the largest, most complex organizations in the world. And we're going to talk about what works, what doesn't work, and how CISOs and CIOs can navigate the pace of change in this exponential age. So, let's dive in. Welcome to F5's Global CISO Podcast with your host, Chuck Herrin. Today, I'm joined by Hitesh Patel, one of the very few people that flies as much as I do. I like to welcome a fellow million miler to the show. Hitesh, can you introduce yourself, please, and then we'll dive right in.
Yeah, sure. So, hi, Chuck. Hitesh Patel here, Field CTO with F5, and really enjoying this new kind of gig for me, being out there with customers front and center again. After a couple of years in the product team. So excited to be here, excited to be back out in the field with Chuck and working on unsolvable problems, which we're going to solve with all of our customers.
Right on. Working with our customers is where the magic happens. So diving right into the topics today, we talk a lot about automation and aggressive automation. It seems obvious that we as defenders and technology SMEs, we want to automate as much as possible. But what are the prerequisites for effective automation?
Yeah, look, first, you got to start with the mindset shift, right? Automation can be done in any number of ways, but really it starts with how do you look and go about your daily tasks, right? And getting something from kind of nothing to deployed. So we've had a lot of movements over the last couple of DevOps was a big part of that, and then the offshoots of like DevSecOps, Net DevOps, all of these things. F5 had a super NetOps program. All of these are really just words and titles. What it is a mentality and a proclivity and a bias towards saying, I am going to automate first, period. And that's really what it is. It's a mindset shift that has to happen. And you can use DevOps methodology. You can use Agile methodology to demonstrate that. But it's really about looking at folks and saying, look, do the work to automate the task instead of doing the task. It's almost like when you're writing software, write the test before you write the code. That's the mindset shift that has to happen to be effective in automation. Then second is really going out and learning the tools, learning the abilities of your people, but also where they need to go and learn and educate themselves to use the multitude and kind of wide breadth of tools that are available out there in the automation ecosystem. I'm not a proponent of any of them. Tools are tools. I'm going to try and use the right tool for the job. Try and pick a few tools rather than every tool. But every organization is going to have a different look at kind of mix of those things. Just go in and say, these are the tools we're using. Please go ahead and start using them and get something done. And then third is really the quality of the APIs and interfaces that you're automating. And this is where vendors like F5 and others come into play, right? You have to go to your vendors and say, you are not going to give me a nightmare. APIs can be really good and they can be really bad. And guess what? They're all called APIs. So I have a very pointed stance on this, right? I am firmly in the camp of declarative APIs, and people ask me why. And I'm like, because declarative APIs make it easier in terms of real lines of code needed to automate my solution. That lines of code count, which is one way to count it. It's not the best one, but it's easy. It should be as low as possible. And a good vendor will tell you that you can automate our code in X lines of code to do something that is very useful in your environment, because that is less maintenance and headache for you, because automation code and projects themselves are software projects.
Got it. Okay, so diving in, we're going to keep it brief today. So last question. It sounds like automation and observability are kind of table stakes, right? If you want to be in my ecosystem, we're going to make decisions on whether or not you get to stay in my ecosystem based on the level of observability and functionality of the APIs that you expose are, right? So if you're coming in then as a new CTO, what's one word of advice for the new CTO or new CISO that's got a new guy, new girl card that's good for what, 60, 90 days maybe? Yeah. Where do they start to get their arms wrapped around not only the business goals that they signed up to achieve? They probably weren't hired to fix technology debt, but they're going to have to manage this technology debt and other ecosystem that they inherit as well. How do they get their arms around that for a new CTO?
Yeah, so two things. Use the power of your budget and your spending power, which is you have to go to your vendors and make it very clear that Automation, good APIs. APIs that make my life easier are table stakes. The visibility is table stakes. That we may be your customer right now, but we will cease to be your customer in this time frame if you are not delivering and enabling our people to do that.
Right.
So come work with us, come figure it out with us if you want to keep getting the check from me. So I think you've just got to draw that line in the sand. There is no vendor whose technology is good enough that it justifies being an island nowadays, period. You've got to go in with that mentality. Then the second part of that is creating headroom for your team. The reality is that most people are just trying to get through their ticket queue or trying to get through their task queue for the day. That's just the real reality of organizations nowadays. You've got to go in and like I said, go in, have your folks write down the tasks that they're doing repeatedly every day. If they're doing the same task over and over again, there is an opportunity to automate that task. And you're not automating out the job. You're not automating that person out of a job. What you're doing is creating the headroom for them to be able to do the job they really want to do, which is over on the innovation side. It's over on the how can we make this better. It's addressing and getting ahead of the real challenges that we have on the horizon rather than kind of just being beat down by it when it hits you in the face.
Right on. Got it. So automate as much as you can, automate the sucky parts of the job out of it. It requires observability end to end, and vendors that don't play nice, I sign the front of the check, you guys sign the back. If you want to be part of this, you're going to play along, right? Security is a team sport.
Exactly.
Hitesh, I want to thank you so much for your time today. It's been great catching up with you. I'm sure I'll see you on the road at an event in some other city, in some other country. And in the meantime, thanks for tuning in to the Global CISO Podcast brought to you by F5. My name's Chuck Herrin, and we'll see you in a couple weeks. Thanks.